All right, so if you're a parent trying to make sense of special education, you've probably come across this document, the IEP, the Individualized Education Program. And yeah, it can be a lot. It's super important, but it can also be just really confusing. So today, we're going to break it all down, piece by piece, so you can walk into that next meeting feeling way more confident and, empowered. And let's be real for a second. That feeling of being lost, it's totally normal. I mean, you're sitting at a table with a whole team of experts. They're throwing around all these acronyms and jargon, and you're just trying to nod along, right? All while trying to do what's best for your kid. This quote, it just nails that feeling. Our whole goal here is to flip that script, to turn that confusion into some serious confidence. Okay, so the first stop on our little tour of the IEP, this is the bedrock. It's the foundation for the entire plan. And yeah, it has a seriously long acronym, but trust me, this is where it all starts. So that mouthful of an acronym, it's PLAFF. It stands for Present Levels of Academic Achievement and Functional Performance. But really, just think of it as a snapshot of your child. I love that word for it, because it's supposed to be a really clear, honest picture of your kid right now. And here's the key. It's not just about their struggles. It has to include their strengths, too. And all of it, absolutely all of it, has to be based on recent, solid data. So as you're reading this part of the IEP, I want you to ask yourself one really simple question. Just forget all the technical terms for a minute and ask, does this actually sound like my child? Because you are the expert on your kid. Period. Your view is so important here. If what's written on that paper doesn't match the child you tuck into bed at night, you've got to say something. In this right here, this is exactly what you need to be on the lookout for. If you see vague phrases like struggles with tasks, that's a huge red flag. Struggles with what tasks? When? Why? See? Without those details, you can't create goals that actually work. Same thing with old data. The P in PLAPE stands for present, which means now, not what was happening a year ago. A fuzzy snapshot leads to a totally useless map. Okay, so we've got our foundation, that clear snapshot of your child. Now, what do we build on it? Well, this is where we get the roadmap. The next part is all about the annual goals. Basically, where are we all trying to get to in the next year? Now, here's the absolute most important thing about these goals. They have to be measurable, every single one. And each goal has to link directly back to a need you saw in that PLAFF snapshot. You've probably heard of SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That's exactly what these need to be. It's not just a wish, like, I hope they do better. It's a concrete target. So you need to ask this key question. Okay, that's a great goal, but how are we going to know if we're getting there? The IEP has to spell out exactly how progress will be measured. Is it through weekly quizzes, teacher notes, specific assessments? And it also has to say how often you'll get updates on that progress. You should never, ever be wondering if your child is making headway. You should know. And here's a classic example of a really, really bad goal. Will improve reading. I mean, what does that even mean? How much improvement? By when? How will anyone know? A goal like that is basically useless because you can't measure it, which means you can't hold anyone accountable for it. You have to push for something specific, something concrete. Like, we'll be able to read 90 words per minute with 95% accuracy by the end of the school year. See the difference? That's a target. All right, so we've laid the foundation with the PLAFP, and we've got our roadmap with the goals. So what's the vehicle that's going to get us there? That's what this next section is all about. The actual specific help the school is going to provide. So look at how detailed this has to be for any service, whether it's speech therapy, reading support, whatever. It has to state the type, how often, for how long, where it will happen, and when it starts. You have to watch out for the biggest red flag in this whole section, the phrase as needed. As needed is not a promise, it's not a service. It basically means maybe, and that's just not good enough. Okay, this is one of the most important things for a parent to get their head around. The difference between accommodations and modifications. Think of it this way. An accommodation changes how your child learns. It levels the playing field. It's like giving a kid extra time on a test. A modification, though, changes what your child is expected to learn. It actually alters the curriculum. And that can have really big consequences down the road, even for their diploma. So you have to be absolutely sure you know which is which and why one is being suggested. Okay, let's zoom out a little and look at the big picture. Because the IEP isn't just about the day-to-day stuff. It also sets the stage for where your child will be learning and, just as importantly, what the plan is for after they leave school entirely. You're going to hear this term LRE, or least restrictive environment. It's a really important legal idea in special education. Basically, the starting point, the default, is always the general ed classroom with their peers. If the school wants to move your child to a different setting, like a special classroom or a separate school, the burden is on them. They have to prove with data why your child's needs can't be met in the regular classroom, even with extra help. You know, the IEP isn't just about passing this year's classes. It's about getting ready for life. So by law, once your child turns 14, the IEP has to include a transition plan. It's a plan for what happens after high school, things like jobs, college, or living independently. And here's the best part. It's supposed to be built around what the student wants, what their goals and interests are. Their voice is key. So we've gone through all the major sections of the document. But now we need to talk about the single most important part of this whole process. And that's you. It's all about your role, because you are your child's #1 most powerful advocate. I really, really want this to sink in. When you walk into that IEP meeting, you are not a guest. You're not just there to listen. You are a full, equal, legal member of that team. Your opinion isn't just a nice to have, it's a right. What you know about your child is every bit as important as any report or assessment that gets put on that table. You belong there. So, how do you put that into practice? Here's a simple 3-step game plan. First, never walk into a meeting cold. Ask for a draft of the IEP a few days beforehand. Second, actually read it. Highlight things, make notes in the margins, and write down every single question that pops into your head. And third, remember you don't have to do this by yourself. Bring a friend, a family member, or an advocate. Just having a second set of ears in the room can be a total game changer. Look, at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Yeah, the paperwork is a lot. The meetings can be draining. But nobody on this planet knows your child better than you do. You have to trust that knowledge. Trust your gut. Speak up. Ask the dumb questions. Because a good IEP isn't handed to you. It's built together. And your voice is the most essential tool in the entire toolbox.